Good evening, good evening, good evening. I am Annette, your host here at Word on the Curve podcast. And technology is interesting. I'd like to thank you for joining me here this evening. Tonight, I want to give a special shout out to a guy named Josh Waring. Hi, Chloe. Hi, Josh. I want to shout out Josh because Josh was the first person who encouraged me to start a podcast. He thought I had something to say. I hope after 5.5 years, he still feels that way. Thank you, Josh. I'd like to thank my producers, Frank and Christina Sasso from New Pod City, Trenton Waves. I'm Annette, your host here at Word on the Curve podcast. Welcome back. Thank you for joining me now and or later. I appreciate having you here today. I just want to share a little bit about what brings us to the podcast tonight. Hey, Miss Ward, nice to have you tonight. Vera Green Ward, to be exact. Hey, my friend. I'm here tonight because I want to talk a little bit about um, when a relationship ends, whether it's business, whether it's with family. Yes, some relationships with families do end, whether it's with friends, whether it's with a spouse, whether it's with a significant other that you're not married to. When a relationship ends, we typically want closure. See us on Facebook at Word on the Curve Podcast. See us at the Black Girls Locker Room. That's right. That's where we huddle for the win. See us at Spotify, Apple, and Sirius Radio. And see us on YouTube. On YouTube, our handle is Word on the Curve Podcast Studio, because there are a few people who use the same handle. And since it's not trademarked, it was open. But we're working on the trademark now, and we want every one of you who are listening now and or later to know that we have submitted paperwork for a trademark for Word on the Curve podcast. But tonight our topic is when the relationship ends and there's no closure. That's what we're talking about tonight. And it doesn't matter what type of relationship you're in. When it ends, and before we get started, I'm drinking tea because I suffer severe allergies. And this is the allergy season. So I've made some notes because I like to stay on track. And we're not going to be long tonight. I have another commitment. That's right. I have another commitment. But this is the most important one. So again, thank you for joining me. When a relationship ends and there's no closure, that's difficult for the best of us when we're, emotionally sound and stable. Imagine when we're not. And sometimes in business relationships and family relationships and significant others and marriages and friendships, it's not always an easy ride. Sometimes when those relationships end, the road is not paved. And by that I mean, we're not always prepared for it. And sometimes it is often, for many of us, unfamiliar territory as it relates to closure. So let's hop into this right quick. See, here's my experience, strength, and hope. What doesn't apply, please let it fly. This is about my experience, strength, and hope. The first thing I learned the hard way is that you have to learn to feel. See, I was in a friendship that I thought was a true friendship. And it was with a guy, and there was nothing else but a friendship. There wasn't anything special. There wasn't anything sexual. It was a friendship. And I honestly thought we were friends. I did. And I fell into a trap that happens a lot when you're in those type of relationships. Sometimes, the other folks in those friendships think that that friendship is going to change to something else. And when it doesn't, or when you can't meet them where they want you to meet them at, where you can't be, excuse me, everything they want you to be beyond the friendship, it becomes hostile. Here nor there. The point is, when it ends with no closure, the first thing I found out is that I have to let myself feel it. I have to feel it. I have to be real about it. I have to, process what happened, how it happened for me. Um, some may be tempted to numb the pain that comes with a friendship, especially a close one, or a relationship where there's no closure. I got to allow myself to feel. And even now, and it's been about 4 years, I still, every now and then, want to ask myself, what happened? Where did I go wrong? What signal did I send that was misunderstood, right? Because when they walked away with like no comment, no conversation, nothing. They just simply walked away. And it was painful. It was extremely, excuse me, painful. This is bad allergies because this weather keeps going up and down. Mother Nature, get yourself together. I'm sick of you. Just like chaotic self. Hot one day, cold the next. You're killing my allergies. Mine and many others as well. But please remember to hydrate, drink water or tea, eat fruit, moisturize your feet, hands, and face, and mind your business. Yeah, that's important. I had to feel it. When they walked away with no explanation, I had to feel it. And of course, I'm sure that was the intent because I thought we were friends. I thought we could have a conversation. I thought we were okay when in fact we weren't. If I tell you I'm not interested in dating because it was a male, if I tell you I'm not doing anything beyond the friendship, that's not my intention, and you believe you can change my mind, you get what your hand calls for because I'm right up front about it. The other thing I had to learn is that grieving a loss of this sort is natural. I had to grieve it. I didn't get that at first. I had to grieve it. I had to grieve the fact that a man that I thought was my friend, not my lover, could never be my lover, but who was my friend, has simply walked away angry and discombobulated because he thought he was going to be able to change my mind about, what we were doing and how we were doing it. That wasn't going to happen. I always make notes. I tell you guys that all the time, right? So I had to also learn. I have lost my. There we go. We're back. I had to also learn to practice forgiveness because at first, and for a while, I was pretty angry with him. Like, hey, Cordelia, like, what are you doing? We're supposed to be friends. There was nothing more than a friendship. You're walking away. You're not talking to me. You're mad at me. Why? So I had to learn, not just in this relationship, but others, to not hold a grudge, to be forgiven, because when I wasn't, they prevented me from moving on with my life. On my job, when I left my job, I had to forgive people. I absolutely had to forgive them because they behaved horribly, a lot of them, and without reason, simply because I couldn't do what they wanted me to do. I don't play fair ball. If the ball gets hit out the park, it's because I swung a home run. But what I'm not going to do is cheat on the field. That's not going to happen. And I'm not perfect, but I'm not cheating on the field. I'm going to be fair and square with everybody. And everybody don't like fair and square. But in this particular relationship to which I refer, I had to learn how to grieve that. I had to learn how to forgive, but I had to learn how to feel too. Because I wanted to brush it aside like, oh, well, kippy-yay, when in fact that wasn't the case because I really thought we were friends. I thought we were cool. We had talked about a lot. We shared a lot. Um, People thought other things about us. We didn't care because we knew that it was nothing more than a friendship. And we knew that what they thought and what we were actually doing wasn't one and the same thing. So it was nothing for us to be concerned about. But I had to offer myself first a pardon. That's right. I had to forgive myself first because there were red flags on the field a lot. And I often, anybody who deals with me will tell you, when I see a red flag, I tell you immediately, red flag on the field, right? I saw the red flags on the field with respect to how he was dealing with me and the things he was doing. And, I had to be willing to let go of it and forgive him for everything. Everything. And he did a lot of things. In his exit, he did a lot of things that would make people think and or believe there was a lot more to it than it was, but in fact it wasn't. I don't feel a need to defend myself. That's not what I'm doing here tonight. I'm simply sharing with you about um, when a relationship ends, and this just happened to be a male friendship where there was no closure. The other thing I had to learn how to do was to channel my energy, right? Because I was used to having these daily conversations, laughing, joking, talking about the job, talking about some of our challenges that we've had, in the positions that we held, how difficult it was, and, what we could do better and how we could do it. And I had to rechannel that energy, right? I was used to having that debrief, if you will, at the end of most days, with this man about, our challenges and how we would meet them and what would work for us after having been through some of the things we went through. So, of course, I was a little sad. I was a little angry. I was a little frustrated about the fact that um, they chose to simply walk away. I'm going to have to ask you to hold on for a second. We got a lighting problem here. Hold on. How the hell did you fall over? That's what I want to know. How did you fall over? Just like that, because everything's leaning that way. Let's move this out. Our light for the studio is an issue, but we're working on it. And I think we're back in action. Thank you so much for your patience. I appreciate it. So I had to learn. I was frustrated, and it was eating away at me for a while because we were such good friends. I wanted to know what happened, right? And so I had to rechannel that energy. And, I started working out. I started doing different things. Working out releases endorphins. The endorphins that I would have when I had somebody that I could honestly talk to who understood, what being in our positions were all about, right? So when that left, it did affect my mood. But what helped my mood was exercising on a regular basis. I have to tell you that because people don't believe that. But I'm telling you, when you're in bad space, when relationships end and there's no closure, I don't care if you don't do anything but sit on a chair and do it. Because exercise does increase the good endorphins, that we feel, especially when we're going through something that makes us sad, unhappy, or that we don't quite understand. And sometimes, everybody is in situations that they don't quite understand. Everybody, you, me, everybody. We get into situations we don't understand it, but when people just walk out of our lives and dismiss us, it's difficult. And that's exactly what happened. He walked out of my life and simply dismissed me as if I had never existed. But baby, listen when I tell you, accept your feelings, grieve, and rechannel your energy, right? The other thing I had to do was, take a look at myself. See, when I'm in bad situations, I always take a look at myself first, like where I was in it, what I did, what I didn't do, what I can do better next time, because I'll have a friend again, a male friend, that's not a relationship, that's not sexual. I will. I enjoy male company. It's a lot easier for me because of a lot of reasons. But the bottom line is I also enjoy my sister girlfriends too, right? But I had to, maintain my dignity in it because they did everything they could to destroy me. And I sat back and just let them work. I will not defend myself. And I ain't running after nothing, including the bus. Even if I'm late, I'm not running after anything. And so those are things that I had to learn. Those are things that I had to choose. And thank God I had parents who instilled some stuff in me and built my self esteem early. You know, I had to throw out mementos. I had a lot of different stuff he had sent, telling me, when you're having a bad day, remember this. When you're doing this, remember that. All kinds of memes, all kinds of text. I got rid of all of it. You want to walk out? Take it all with you. you know so that was the other thing, that I want you to know, that helped me and worked for me. I got rid of everything to prevent myself from going back and looking at it, because there were times when I wanted to reach out and say, hey, what happened? Why did you misbehave so poorly? Why did you walk away and leave the friendship? And that's all it was a friendship. And I keep repeating that because some people get confused, right? And then try to destroy me in the process. Why? Why? You knew what it was from the door. You knew exactly what it was from the door, right? And so people do that. That happens in business relationships. You're in a bad relationship in the business, your business partner walks away, doesn't explain why, let them go. As long as your money ain't going with them. If your money's going with them, then you might want to let the lawyer chase them, right? But don't you do it. Don't waste your time, because in business partnerships, people walk away. In families, when your family walks away and they're angry at you and there's no closure, pray about it, try to resolve it. If it doesn't work, let it go. Look, and I'm going to tell you again, what doesn't apply, let it fly, right? This is what worked for me, because I've had all of these situations with business, with friends, with family, um, with a best friend, him. He was one of my best friends. And I had to create my own closure. So let me tell you what works. I told you about the things you got to grieve it. You have to feel it. You have to accept that it happened. You have to not blame yourself. You have to look at yourself in the mirror and figure out what role you played, right? All of that matters. So when you do that, baby, and listen, and you come to this, because here's what you're going to come to. This is guaranteed. You take a look. If you do all the things that I just spoke about, and you take a look at yourself, right? And you rechannel your energy, right? You create your own closure. And it's real simple. It's going to be one of the greatest things that could ever happen to you, because I don't care if it's family, I don't care if it's a friend, I don't care if it's a spouse, I don't care if it's a significant other. That's somebody you're not married to, right? There's a difference, right? And I don't care if it's your best friend. Sometimes when a relationship ends, it is meant to end. Your higher power, I choose to call God. I'm a believer, right? Whatever you choose is all right with me. Is making room for something else. Remember that. When a relationship ends with no closure, sometimes your God is making room for something else. Accept that. Because the other thing we ignore is our gut. There'll be all kinds of red flags on the field. Didn't I tell you there were red flags on the field because the man was doing stuff that didn't make sense? And I go, he say, hey, let's go on a date. I said, no, we ain't going on a date. We can go to dinner, but it's not a date. We're friends. We're just hanging out and we're having dinner. Invite your girlfriend or whoever, because this ain't a date, right? And they would laugh and go, oh, you know what I mean. No, I don't know what I mean, but I want to be clear about whatever it is you mean. I know what I mean. The question is, what do you mean, right? And so sometimes when relationships end, they're meant to end. And when you can accept that, you can accept a whole lot of other things, right? So in my notes here, one of the things that I wrote is that while closure tends to work well in the business world, it doesn't always really fit in when it comes to your heart. Because see, you could do it in business, you could do it with other people, you could be like, okay, this is what it is, right? But when it comes to your heart, it's an altogether it's an altogether different ball game. And in reality, the best way to get closer to that feeling of closure you desire may be to simply cut off all contact. And that is exactly what I did. I cut all contact with this man because I knew he wasn't going to be good for me moving forward, nor was I going to be good for him, especially after in his decision to no longer maintain the friendship, be friendly, and professional. I knew that once he tried to destroy me, there was no hope. There was absolutely no hope for reconciliation. I cut all ties. I got rid of everything that even remotely reminded me of the friendship. I did that, you know. So I had to let go of the idea of mending that friendship once I became aware of the destruction he attempted to create. He thought he destroyed me. What he destroyed was a real friendship and somebody who would have walked through, fire to save him. No, wait a minute. That might have ruined my hair and made my hair sweat out. I'm 100% natural, right? Maybe not fire, right? But maybe over a waterfall or under. Nah, mm-mm. That would have wet my hair. So no, mm-mm. But I was a real friend. Not the fire, not the water, but I was a real friend. And a friend that I know he had never seen before and will never see again. That's his loss. It's not mine. So I had to let go of the idea of mending the relationship and to start building, friendships away from that friendship. Get rid of everything that reminded me of him and do what I needed to do to move on. Because the bottom line is, as I wrote here, on this fifth page, I had to move on. The other thing I had to do was to keep the faith in myself, because I knew who I was. I knew what I was about. I knew what I brought to the table in terms of a friendship, right? And I didn't want to be bitter. I wanted to remain open to the possibility of other friendships, right? So, I had to keep the faith and let that go, right? And I also knew that time, I've always known this, can help you get through anything if you're honest and realistic with yourself about it. So, here's the deal. Here's what I want you to remember. When you realize that you deserve better, when you truly accept that, acknowledge it, and embrace it, that's your real closure. Did you get that? If you didn't get it now, you'll get it on the way home. Your real closure will be when you recognize, accept, and respect the fact that you deserve better. That's your closure. My name is Annette. I'm here at Word on the Curb. I want to thank you again for joining me here this evening. Have a good night. Cordelia and Vera, as well as some others who will join now and or later. Thank you for joining me. Remember to hydrate, and it's you for you, baby. Don't forget that. Nobody knows you better than you know yourself. Always check that mirror.